Megumi turns off his laptop and gets under the blanket, pulling it tight around his thin shoulders. The room is cold, bitterly so, as he's been paying so little for utilities lately. The radiator sits silent in the corner, and his breath forms small clouds in the air. It's late afternoon when Alexander knocks on the door. No answer. He knocks again, louder this time, worry creeping into his chest. He has a key. Megumi gave it to him months ago, back when things were better. Inside, the apartment is dark and freezing. He finds Megumi still in bed, the laptop closed beside him, unchanged from yesterday afternoon. Megumi, wake up. Alexander shakes his shoulder gently, then more firmly. Megumi's eyes open slowly, unfocused and distant. When did you last eat? Megumi doesn't answer. He just stares through Alexander like he's looking at someone else entirely. That's it, we're going to the hospital. Alexander helps him up, noticing how light he is, how his clothes hang loose on his frame. Megumi follows mechanically, docile and confused, as Alexander guides him to the car. At the emergency room, Alexander speaks urgently to the intake nurse, then to the doctor. To Megumi, sitting in the examination room, his friend looks different somehow. He calls him Serghei now, though some distant part of his mind knows that isn't right. The man talking to the doctor has Serghei's voice, Serghei's concern. I think he's broke and needs help, Serghei tells the doctor, his voice low with concern. Dr. J looks at the patient with practiced eyes, reviews the file with its growing list of concerning notes, then continues. As I see him now, he is depressed. Does he have parents or siblings to help him? No one. I can keep him 3 days for observation, but he seems calm and stable. The doctor pauses and looks in Megumi's direction. Megumi is staring at them through hollow eyes, but there's no reaction, no flicker of recognition or emotion. Did he ever speak of suicide? No, but look at him. Serghei gestures toward Megumi, who has already slumped in his seat while they were talking, his body folding in on itself like a discarded coat. Dr. J looks at the file again, then at Megumi's gaunt face and the dark circles beneath his eyes. He glances at the friend, Alexander, according to the intake form, then back at Megumi. The patient's eyes are fixed on his friend, but there's something off in his gaze, something distant and confused. Is he employed or self-employed? He's self-employed, Serghei says. Does he have contracts with anyone? Yes, with 3 companies. Does he actually do his work? Yes, all the time. Even when he shouldn't, Serghei thinks, even when he can barely stand. Good, Dr. J makes a note, his expression thoughtful. I'll give him this prescription. Crush the pills and mix with milk, orange juice, or water. No Coke, coffee, or soda. Okay. Serghei nods, watching the doctor's pen move quickly across the prescription pad. He looks at Megumi, then at the doctor filling out the prescription so quickly, as if this were routine, as if people didn't crumble like this every day. But it's okay. Just bring him back next week to see how he's doing. Serghei takes the prescription, the paper thin and insignificant in his hand. He goes to get Megumi, who rises mechanically, his movements slow and uncertain. He nods to him, and Megumi follows like a shadow. The pharmacist reviews the prescription with raised eyebrows, antipsychotics, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, but says nothing, handing the medication to Megumi without any questions. Back at Serghei's small apartment, he lets Megumi change into clean clothes while he crushes the pills with the back of a spoon. The sound is rhythmic, almost meditative. He squeezes fresh oranges, the citrus scent cutting through the stale air of the apartment. He prepares a bowl of soup, chicken and vegetables, steam rising in gentle spirals, while Megumi sits on the couch watching TV without really seeing it. Here, this will help. He hands him the juice, cloudy with the dissolved medication, and the soup in a warm ceramic bowl. Megumi drinks the juice and eats the soup slowly, mechanically. Serghei starts to say something when he notices tears streaming silently down Megumi's face, leaving wet tracks on his pale cheeks. Let's watch TV and do some crafts. He brings out Megumi's craft supplies, colored paper, scissors, glue, and sits beside him on the worn couch. The cushions sink under their weight. When Megumi stops crying, he looks gloomy, very gloomy, his eyes scanning the unfamiliar space like a trapped animal. The apartment is smaller than his, cluttered with Serghei's things. He looks around like he's in an environment he doesn't like, doesn't recognize, doesn't want. Serghei knows Megumi would prefer his own apartment with its familiar corners and memories, but he can't let him stay there alone. It's also too far from Serghei's work. Serghei looks around at all the things he brought from Megumi's apartment: a favorite mug, some books, the laptop, scattered among his own belongings. Yet Megumi still doesn't feel at home. He looks displaced, temporary, like a guest who's overstayed. Megumi, listen. I know you don't like living here, but it's just temporary until you feel better. Feel better? You just think I'm depressed. His voice is flat, empty of inflection. No, honey, you're not well, you don't eat. You drink coffee creamer. I think you need help. That's why I'm here. How long will this last? There's a tremor in his voice now, something breaking through the numbness. As long as necessary. You're so gloomy and you've lost so much weight lately. I can see your ribs through your shirt. I'm concerned you might be sick. I'm not, I'm just giving up. Giving up on what, Megumi? On living. Okay, listen, it's too late. Too late for what? It's not too late. You can recover everything. You can get a stable job, a girlfriend, anything you want. Serghei leans forward, trying to catch Megumi's downcast eyes. But everybody dies, Serghei. The words hang in the air like smoke. That comment makes Serghei question whether Megumi is suicidal or not. His stomach tightens with fear. Okay, but have you ever thought about enjoying the things you have? The things you can still do? Yes, I thought about it for a while, but then what? Megumi's hands lie limp in his lap. Megumi, stop. This isn't good. And what's the alternative? The alternative is living, doing something meaningful. You do these crafts and everything. Your drawings are beautiful. Yeah, but they're useless. I can't sell anything. Nobody wants them. You don't need to sell anything. You do it for yourself, for the joy of creating. And by the way, your rent hasn't been paid in a while. What about making a list of things you want to do instead of thinking about death? Megumi is quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. Then, quietly, okay, Serghei, bring me the laptop and let's see. Serghei brings Megumi's laptop, opening it to a blank document. The screen's glow illuminates both their faces in the dimming evening light. They start writing things down, the cursor blinking expectantly. At first, Megumi isn't convinced, typing with one finger, his suggestions half-hearted and vague. But later on, he starts to get more involved, his fingers moving faster across the keys. We should go to Japan. Yeah, why not? We have a discount because you work for an airline. Yes, I have 50% off during holidays. That's amazing. Put it on the list. Serghei watches as Megumi types it, something like hope flickering in his chest. They spend all afternoon doing this, the list growing longer, traveling, trying new foods, learning to play guitar, visiting museums, taking a cooking class. What Serghei observes is that Megumi's breathing slows. It's slower, but it's deep and calm, no longer the shallow, anxious gasps from before. Later, he cooks dinner in the small kitchen, the pans sizzling. The meal is luxurious compared to what Megumi has been eating lately. Fresh salmon with herbs, roasted vegetables, rice that actually has flavor. Here, eat. He sets the plate down with care. Salmon, where did you find it? Megumi looks at the food with something approaching interest. I found it cheap at the supermarket. I thought you might like it. It's so tasty. And for the first time in weeks, there's a hint of pleasure in his voice. Megumi eats more than he usually does, actually chewing, actually tasting. Then Serghei lets him nap on the couch, covering him with a soft blanket. In reality, Alexander watches Megumi sleep, noting how his friend mutters occasionally, how his eyes move beneath closed lids. Alexander checks the medication bottles again, reading the labels in the bathroom light. Antipsychotics. He understands now why the doctor looked at him so carefully, why Dr. J asked if Megumi recognized him. Days pass and Megumi begins to gain weight again, his face filling out, color returning to his cheeks. He's less gloomy when they talk, actually making eye contact now. They go back to the doctor's office with its sterile smell and motivational posters, and Dr. J greets them with a genuine smile. "Welcome, Alexander Megumi. How have you been, Megumi?" Megumi blinks. "Alexander. Yes, that's right, not Serghei, Alexander." The name feels foreign and familiar at once. "Hungry, a lot more hungry." There's almost a smile playing at his lips. "Yes, that's a good effect of the medication I prescribed. I'm glad you can eat again. So let's see." "Oh, you have a sheet of paper." "Yes, we made a list, of things to do." Megumi unfolds it, the paper covered in their handwriting. Though he realizes now he wrote it all himself, Alexander just watching and encouraging. Sure, let me see." Dr. J takes the list, his eyes scanning down the page and his smile widens. "So you're planning to travel, that's very good." "Yes, we actually bought tickets. We leave in 2 weeks." Megumi's voice has energy now, anticipation. "Good, I'm going to fill a prescription for you to take abroad. Hungary is a very nice place. I've been there twice. The thermal baths are wonderful." "Thank you." No need to translate the prescription. Just hand it in like this. During the rest of the consultation, the doctor observes Megumi, who tries to engage, answering questions without prompting, even asking some of his own. The fog is lifting. He looks at Alexander, really looks at him, and feels embarrassment wash over him. Has he been calling him Serghei this whole time? At the end, Dr. J says, "Okay, boys, I hope you have a nice holiday. Take the medication as prescribed and everything will be fine. I'll see you in a month. I'm looking forward to hearing about your holidays and everything on the list you've completed." "Thank you, doctor." Megumi feels more energetic as they leave the office, though still tired. But it's a normal tired now, not the soul-deep exhaustion of before. Alexander walks beside him, and Megumi finally sees him clearly. His real friend. The one who found him, who saved him. "I'm sorry," Megumi says quietly as they walk to the car. "For calling you Serghei, for not recognizing you." Alexander, because it was always Alexander, just squeezes his shoulder. "You're getting better, that's what matters." And in fact, he does get better. The medication helps clear the fog. Megumi goes back to work, responds to emails, fills in items on the list. They have plans, real plans that extend beyond the next day, the next hour. At least in his life, when everything felt gone, when the world had narrowed to a single dark point, now there's a future again, however uncertain. Years later, Megumi is still there, still alive, living in his own apartment again, the one he managed to keep after all. Alexander visits often. After a while, sitting together over coffee, Megumi asks him a question. "When you took me to the psychiatrist years ago, I was so down, so broken." "Yeah, you were. I was terrified when I found you that day." "I didn't even recognize you. I kept calling you Serghei. Why didn't you correct me?" "The doctor told me not to. He said your mind had created this version of a helper, that if I contradicted you too much while you were in that state, you might retreat further. So I answered to whatever name you called me." "But you'd lost your parents just months before I found you. You'd lost your job, you lost." "Yes, I know, but I didn't want to give up. Not completely. Even when I couldn't see reality clearly, some part of me wanted help." "So now you're not concerned about losing everything?" "Not anymore. I'll gain no matter what. That's just life." He says it with acceptance now, not despair. "I'm glad I was there, that I found you in time." "I'm glad too. You saved my life, Alexander." Megumi looks at his friend with clear eyes, the real Alexander, not the hallucination of Serghei his mind had created. Because that's what happened. Megumi's mind, desperate and breaking, had transformed his real friend Alexander into someone else, Serghei, a helper, a lifeline. Dr. J had observed it from the beginning. The way Megumi looked at Alexander but called him another name, the way his perception was fractured and confused. But Megumi didn't want to die. He'd held on just enough for help to reach him. So the doctor allowed the hallucination to run its course, let Megumi's mind heal in its own way. Because sometimes the mind creates what it needs to survive. And Serghei, imaginary as he was, had been real enough to save a life. And sometimes, Dr. J knew from years of practice, that was enough.